I'm guessing that you could be forgiven for thinking that something as everyday as home insulation simply can't be controversial. But you'd be wrong, because when it's installed badly or in the wrong place, it can do more harm to your home than good. Now, I'm talking about spray foam. When it's installed properly, it can be legitimate, and for a while you could even pay for it with the help of a government grant. But late last year, thousands of people who had installed the stuff were dealt a blow when one national body strongly advised homeowners to get it completely removed. And who's stuck in the middle of all of this? The very homeowners who thought they were doing the right thing. Somerset, home to pretty villages, cheddar cheese and cider orchards. It's an idyllic setting, or so Judy Powell thought, when she bought this Grade 2 listed property with her sister Sarah and their elderly mother Lois in 2015.
Lois, my mother, thought it was wonderful. She loved her annex, but she also loved the fact that we were able to be near her, having us all together. She had her brood looking after her.
To buy the house, Lois, Judy and Sarah were able to pay in cash, but they did something that experts strongly advise against. They bought the house without getting a building survey.
We knew we would find something because it's an old property, but we just felt that, well, we'll deal with that when we find it.
Not long after the family moved into the property, builders who were doing some work on the house discovered something in the attic.
They said, "Oh, did you know you've got foam insulation?" And I said, "No, not really. What's foam insulation?"
Spray foam insulation is a liquid expanding foam which had been applied to the underside of the cottage's roof.
At the time, we weren't concerned about it because it didn't cause us any problems.
In 2022, nearly 7 years after the family moved in, Mum Lois died. After much thought, Judy and Sarah decided to put the house on the market. And it wasn't long before they found a buyer who instructed a surveyor to visit the property.
He went up in the roof and he said, "Did you know about this foam insulation?" And I said, "Well, yes, I did. Does it cause a problem?" He didn't say anything in particular. From what I remember, he went away and obviously put his report into the mortgage lenders. It was only then, sometime later, that the estate agent phoned to say that the mortgage had been turned down due to the insulation.
Judy learned that the foam had been sprayed directly onto the underside of the roof tiles, which made it impossible for the surveyor to inspect the state of them or the ancient rafters, and it would make any repairs to the Grade 2 listed roof extremely hard. All the foam had to come out.
I feel very, very angry over it and very bitter that we've had to pick up the pieces of having it removed. Even though we didn't install it, it's down to us. And financially, it's down to us to do that.
Judy tried to get in touch with the company which installed the spray foam for the previous owners in 2013, but it had stopped trading. She's since learned that the job was done without Grade 2 listed buildings consent, and none of the firms that she's approached for help seem to want to touch it. And that's when she approached us for help. We've featured the removal of spray foam in the past, and it's a massive undertaking. But the scale of the job only became clear to Judy when we set up our powerful filming lights in the attic.
It's just amazing. I mean, it looks horrendous. What do they call that? Ghostbusters. It's like the slime. I really can't believe they've done this. It's just awful. I didn't think I would be so emotional over it.
To try to help Judy find a solution to all of this, we asked a graded home surveyor and chairman of the Residential Property Surveyors Association, Alan Milstein, to take a look.
Hello, you must be new.
His organisation has been calling for the regulation of the spray foam industry to ensure that homeowners aren't fitting spray foam into their homes where it isn't suitable. His preliminary findings are pretty damning.
Sadly, this is one of the worst cases I've come across. We're in a listed building, and doing work like this would require listed building consent, which I understand wasn't done. And what we've got is closed cell spray foam insulation sprayed directly onto the underside of the tiles.
Alan believes that the spray foam has to be completely removed, and that the only way to do this would be to take off the entire roof and replace most of the tiles. Adding to the problem, says Alan, is the type of spray foam that's being used in the attic, known as closed cell spray foam.
Removal of spray foam, particularly closed cell spray foam, is really, really difficult. It glues itself extremely tightly to the tiles, so removing it is very difficult.
Closed cell spray foam, though a good insulator, can also be a barrier to moisture. So Alan says unless a room or loft is well ventilated, condensation can build up.
The difficulty is that it then traps the moisture between the foam and the tiles, and that can increase the risk of rot and other defects like woodworm. Sadly, there's only one option, and that is to remove the roof, to remove the foam, which is, of course, not something that we really want to do because it clearly would be a costly business.
Alan estimates that the costs for Judy could run into tens of thousands of pounds, all because the wrong type of spray foam was installed on the wrong type of house.
It's just wicked. It's just vandalism up there.
It's a good word to describe it.
And it should never have been put in a Grade 2 listed building.
Yep.
I don't know which foot to put forward first. I just can feel thousands and thousands of pounds.
As Judy now faces up to the very costly work to remove the entire roof, she knows she'll likely lose her buyer too.
I'm distraught now. How much that might cost. I don't know that we can ever afford it. It's not just my future, it's my sister's future.
We tried to get in touch with the director of the company which originally installed the insulation to find out why he'd put spray foam in a building that isn't suited to it and without listed buildings consent. But our emails, calls and letters all went unanswered. We also contacted the previous owners of Judy's house, but they declined to comment. While Judy's home should never have had spray foam installed in the first place, there are some buildings for which it is more suitable. But that doesn't mean the homeowners haven't run into the same problems when they've come to sell their house. In May 2021, we met Liz and Colin Fish from Hertfordshire, who'd spent around £8,000 to insulate their roof. Did that actually make a difference?
So it's clearly reducing heat loss. It seemed a sensible thing to do to improve the environmental value of the house.
But when they put their house up for sale, they too had a problem. They found out their buyer's lender also wouldn't offer a mortgage on a property with a different type of spray foam insulation, known as open cell spray foam. What was your reaction?
Absolute horror. I mean, we've been losing sleep over this because it was very late breaking news.
They felt they had no option but to pay £3,600 to have it removed.
It's really sad, isn't it? There's all that work to put it in and all the mess now and all this hassle getting it out again. Just seems such a waste.
After the foam was removed, the mortgage and the sale went through. Liz and Colin were just some of the homeowners stuck in the middle of the worrying confusion over spray foam. It's marketed as highly effective insulation, and for a while could even be paid for with the help of a government grant. But without very strict policing of how, where and which type is installed, Alan says mortgage lenders are often nervous about taking on the risk.
We've got people putting spray foam insulation into properties where it's an entirely inappropriate installation or it's not done properly. But the problem is that the lenders don't know which is a good installation and which is a bad installation. So it's very important that as an industry, everybody works together to come up with a process that will be acceptable to both the installers and the lenders and the surveyors and the valuers.
Until then, Alan's organisation reckons some 250,000 homes could be unmortgageable because surveyors can't make a full assessment of the way it's installed unless they completely remove the spray foam to check for damage. But that's a figure the spray foam industry vigorously refutes. The Insulation Manufacturers Association, the body that represents some of the major spray foam manufacturers in the country, said that claims that all properties with any spray foam application are unmortgageable are untrue and unjustifiable, and that if the installation has been done correctly with all the accompanying pre-installation checks and post-installation documents, there should be no reason for lenders not to provide finance. It told us that spray foam is an important and effective method of improving the energy efficiency of our homes and buildings, but that it must be done in accordance with all necessary approvals and permissions. It said that the actual number of cases where there is a genuine reason to remove the spray is very small. It said that anyone in doubt about their spray foam application should contact the main suppliers, who are more than likely to be able to help, adding that, in their experience, this process provides more than enough information for lenders to issue finance. We also spoke to the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, which told us that it doesn't suggest a blanket ban on spray foam insulation, but it does recommend the use of an independent expert who's completely separate from the company offering to install the spray foam. They'll assess whether your home really is suitable for it and whether there might be a more appropriate way to improve thermal performance. RICS also told us it's part of an industry working group on this issue and is in the process of producing guidance for consumers to make an informed decision. It says this will be available by the end of the year. Meanwhile, back in Somerset, Judy is making progress. With Alan's help, she's now clear on exactly what needs to be done. And she's found a surveyor who is liaising with specialist spray foam firms. But she's adamant that the spray foam industry needs to be properly regulated so that others don't end up with the same sky-high bills that she has.
Something's got to come together so this problem doesn't go on to other people, and other people are aware of what can happen and don't put themselves in our position.